Peace. This is 𝔤𝔞𝔰𝔱𝔢𝔯𝔬𝔫. We back in here once again for Eastern Astrology Mysteries, 4D Vision. So before I go in, of course, we will play some music to set the mood, and we will go from there. So we will allow everyone to come in, and we will get started in a few minutes. So till then, enjoy the tunes. Let's see what will be fitting to the environment we are experiencing. So let me play some instrumentals that are fitting to the circumstances. Let's see what we can come up with. Peace, can you guys hear any music? I'm not seeing any audio move, so let me actually transfer the sound here so you guys can actually hear what I'm hearing. Okay. All right, yeah, okay, so let's actually make this transfer. Okay, give me a second here. Let's get this music right. Let's get this right. Give me a second. See if you guys can hear this. No, I can't hear that. But you guys may be actually able to hear that. Give me a second. While I'm figuring these things out, let me give everyone a shout out. What's up, 305 Capricorn Josh? What's up, Ms. Libra? Peace, peace. Now let me introduce everyone to what they are looking at while I'm doing all of these things behind the scenes. What you see before you is a different version of astrology than I normally show. What you see before you is the Vedic perspective. What's up, your mom? And we will give more meaning to what we see before us. So if there's any questions as to what you see, I will explain everything shortly. So let me verify that all things are perfectly set up. We can get to it. I see what's going on. Okay, we can do that. Okay. So let's see. All right, all right, all right. We back in here. Okay. Let's get this started. Now, in this particular chart that we see before us, what I wanted to do is establish a different perspective, as I always do. This time we are analyzing the Vedic deities. So if we look before us, we see that the sun is currently dreaming, and it is in a favorable or a friendly house called the Rashi. So the sun is in a friendly house, but it is dreaming. So how that would manifest in this particular case is, because the sun represents our overall direction, our state of equilibrium, our state of balance, when we feel like ourselves, whoever ourselves may be. You can say right now, people have a sense of self and direction as we move forward. However, the sun is dreaming, and we see that reflected in our reality. People have a awareness of what they want to do, where they want to go. However, the sun is currently dreaming. Next, we see the moon is actually asleep in a hostile Rashi. So in this particular case, we see that because the moon represents the emotional plane, our subconscious mind, the subconscious mind is real hostile right now. Not only is it hostile, it is asleep. The sun is dreaming, but the moon is asleep. The difference between the two is, we understand in the dream state, we are still active in participating in the currency of reality. Versus when we are asleep, not dreaming, we are more so passive in seclusion. So the moon is in seclusion in a hostile house, secluded in hostility. This could describe the nature of the subconscious mind and our emotional plane from the Vedic perspective. Now, we don't have to go down every single degree here. What I want to bring to everyone's attention is more so the last 3 points that we see at the bottom of this list. You should see a F. You should see a little box, or looks like a square with a circle inside. And the symbol above that looks like a comb with a hook at the right hand side. For those who may be unfamiliar with those symbols, those are the symbols of Lilith, Pandora, and the F represents the fixed star of Spica. In Vedic astrology, they include the degrees of the fixed stars. So of course I don't have every single fixed star. Just in this case, 𝔙𝔱𝔢𝔯𝔫, just to give a grander perspective of things. So we have Lilith, Pandora, and 𝔙𝔱𝔢𝔯𝔫. Lilith represents, if we go directly to the story of Lilith, because the more we understand the stories, the more we understand what they represent in astrology. The story of Lilith being the first wife of Adam, Lilith would not allow Adam to pretty much have sex with her when he is on top. She demanded to be on top, essentially. Just to, without getting overly complex with the story. So Adam tried to be dominant, like, this is my land, this is me, you're my wife, all the masculine stuff. Then she refused. She's not going for it, so she left the kingdom, and she ultimately became the queen of the jinn in her own reality. And that's when Eve was created after the fact, after Lilith went about and created her own kingdom. Pandora, as we know, this is what the famous Pandora's box, which is properly Pandora's jar, but Pandora's box. For those who may be unfamiliar, this is where all of the ills of the world comes from. Pandora was the guardian of this box, and Hermes whispered in her ear, which gave her curiosity that she could not satisfy. So as she was descending upon the earth, she peeked inside of the box and released all of the ills, and the only thing that remained was hope. So I'm just giving you a quick version of these stories so we can get an idea of what they may represent with astrology. Now, we also have 𝔙𝔱𝔢𝔯𝔫. 𝔙𝔱𝔢 is one of the fixed stars. Now, for those who may not be familiar with the attributes of 𝔙𝔱𝔢, because we have the technical aspects in the sense of 𝔙𝔱𝔢 is in the constellation of Libra. So you can say 𝔙𝔱𝔢 has attributes of Libra before we get to the personalized aspects of the star itself. The star is being influenced by the constellation of Libra. Now, what are the personal attributes? The personal attributes, it gives success, riches, love, and art, science. It's one of the lucky stars, because you have fixed stars that are unlucky, then you have the fixed stars that are lucky. This just so happens to be one of the lucky stars. If you defined Lilith's star is 𝔐𝔬𝔢𝔬𝔢. And if we were to look up the attribute of 𝔐𝔬𝔢, just to give a perspective, 𝔐𝔬𝔢 would have attributes of Lilith, because it is an unfavorable star. 𝔐𝔬𝔢 is in the constellation of Taurus, first and foremost. But if we read the descriptions of 𝔐𝔬𝔢, the descriptions will go something like misfortune, violence, decapitation, electrocution, mob violence, things of that nature. So this will be a unfavorable star. However, as we know, each star, each planet, each constellation has a dualistic nature. Every zodiac has positive and negative attributes. Every planet has positive and negative attributes. So even the unfavorable has favorable, even the favorable has unfavorable. But let's look at the nature of Lilith currently, Pandora currently, and 𝔕𝔕 currently, because 𝔕𝔕 would symbolize where we can find success, especially when it comes to art and science. So that's why I wanted to include this. Peace. What's up? Anon 11. Anon. What's going on? Pandora would symbolize where energy needs to be released. This is energy that is pent up. It's like a unexploded bomb. So where Pandora is represents this unexploded bomb. Lilith represents raw sexuality. Sexuality in its rawest form. Another way to put that is it is a lower octave of Mars. So if we understand the attributes of Mars, look at Lilith as a lower octave of Mars, meaning a more raw form of Mars. Mars is already the warrior spirit, energy, vitality, so on and so forth. So a lower octave of that will be more primitive, primordial forces. So this is that energy at its most purest form and most destructive form. So you have pure destruction in that sense. Now, before we get into the actual attributes, we see that Lilith, Pandora, and 𝔕𝔕 are all in hostile rashis, hostile houses, and they are all asleep. Now let's take this a step further. We see Lilith. Lilith is located in Sagittarius, the house of Sagittarius. Lilith, as we see, 5 degrees Sagittarius. Now, using the examples of what we know Lilith to represent, and we filtered that through Sagittarius, who is the philosopher. Now we have the philosophy of primitive primordial forces. What does that mean? The philosophy of Tantra or Tantra, because that comes from the East as well. For those who may be unfamiliar, this is utilizing your sexual currency in a way that allows you to have spiritual revelations, which is why Lilith is being expressed through Sagittarius. Sagittarius is all about seeking truth, especially remotely. We are in times where we have to seek truth remotely, not just through technology, but also through the spirits. So when it comes to how you want to channel your sexual energy, Tantra would be the science you would like to investigate so that you learn how to filter the sexual energy so that you can direct it in a way that you receive information that is valid to your actual experience. This is what the philosopher is. However, because Lilith is asleep, this is not an energy that's just flowing in abundance. This is energy that has to be woken up. Whenever a planet or an asteroid or a point is asleep, that means the energy is at its weakest point. So this is not an energy that is seen. Lilith, Pandora, or 𝔕𝔕 are energies that are not seen. You have to stimulate your intuition to activate these energies that are relevant, but they are hidden. As I reveal all these hidden attributes, this gives us the ability to take advantage of influences that are just not seen by everyone else. You can use it to your advantage so that you allow yourself full exploration of your psyche. Next, going into Pandora. we see Pandora is 29 degrees Taurus. Because Pandora represents a unexploded bomb, and we know Taurus to represent resources, movable resources and values, money, values, resources, so on and so forth. So when it comes to all things material, because Taurus is the grower, the Taurus wants to grow security. So Taurus represents a fixed system. Taurus is a fixed earth sign, so it represents a fixed system. This fixed system that Taurus represents, because Pandora is being filtered through a fixed system, this unexploded bomb is being filtered through a fixed system. What is this fixed system? Because Taurus represents values and movable resources, this fixed system of values, we would just say this fixed system of values needs to be changed. This unexploded bomb needs to be exploded on your system of values. They need to be recalibrated. You need to take a bomb and just throw it. Whatever you hold on to, whatever your value system is, you need to throw a bomb and explode. And again, because this energy is asleep, you have to do the work. So this is not going to happen on its own. You need to throw a bomb and let it explode and see what remains. As we are being initiated into a new cycle of things, the old system will become more irrelevant. We have to introduce ourselves to a new way of thinking, growing wealth, accumulating resources. Peace, Moon Spirit. We have to think of new ways to accumulate money and to evaluate what we hold dear moving forward. So that has to be completely recalibrated. Next, we have Spica, which we see as being expressed 24 degrees Libra. We know Libra to be the mentalist, all about mentalism. Spica representing art and science. So a fusion of the left and the right brain, which is why I wanted to emphasize this particular fixed star. So this is how we can merge the left and the right brain, because it is being expressed through Libra, who is the mentalist, who is the peacemaker, who is the judge. Libra is all about adjusting the entirety of your reality. In other words, Gemini will represent like dealing with the small mind. What's up, Derpy? Gemini is the small mind. Gemini is the everyday details, the tids and the bits of reality, communication, social media, so on and so forth. When it comes to Libra, on the other hand, Libra is the librarian. Libra is all about collecting information versus Gemini is all about dispensing information. So Libra is collecting information. So when it comes to art and science, Spica is collecting these forces together. In other words, this is a time to gather information about art and science and seeing how you can apply them together. Where is the bridge between art and science? Can you find the bridge, whether you are already artistically inclined or you are scientifically inclined? Regardless of what spectrum you are on, where is the common ground so that you can merge the other side? When you find what merges these principles together, then you can utilize them collectively instead of separately. Again, because we have 24 degrees Libra, which is all about collecting information. So now we must collect the data. This is not something, again, because these energies are asleep. They're not going to be obvious. We have to search into the unconscious mind. We have to gather and collect the data. The data must be collected and gathered. It is not already known, especially because it's in a hostile Rashi. So everything that I'm speaking about, you will have resistance because the energy is hostile. It's not friendly. It's very unfriendly. It's actually demonic, if we want to put it in plain terms. You're going to open a door and you're not going to feel welcome. You're going to have to figure out how to order the chaos. You're going to open the door, especially if we're dealing with Lilith. We know Lilith to be the queen of jinns. We know Pandora to have unleashed all the ill on the world. And again, not saying that any of these things were done consciously. They were simply results. Nonetheless, these results, if we combine Sagittarius, Taurus, and Libra, what we have is the ability to seek truth by collecting data, which allows us to reevaluate and reemerge our value system. Currently, as we know, the government is speaking about giving everybody $1,200 checks, depending on what your household is like, of course. You may get more or less, who knows. It's up in the air as to when this will actually happen. You can say these energies are asleep. It is up to us to awaken these darker energies because no one else is willing to put in the amount of effort necessary. Because whenever they are faced with hostility, they try to remove themselves from it. It's not too many people who walk into hostile situations and who want to stand firm. We would rather remove ourselves. This is not an environment I want to be in. Let me move on. As opposed of realizing that there is nothing friendly about the unconscious mind. There is nothing friendly about magic. Because you are attempting to know the darkest elements of yourself, which are not friendly, which will appear to be demonic or devilish. But that's what you are attempting to understand, not separate yourself from it, because we are dualistic beings. We have positive and negative attributes, not just good and bad, masculine and feminine. They both have their own polarities. So it's actually fourfold instead of twofold, which produces the cross, which we know to represent the energy of Saturn, which is about the weight we hold in this physical shell. While we are here, we must endure hardship. Just having a body, you have to be very mathematical and strategic as to how you regulate your own system, on top of being successful in life. But the first step is your health, because if your health is not on point, then there's nothing you can actually accomplish of substance if you are hindered by your health, which is why alchemy is the most important or the most difficult degree to achieve. Because when you are able to regulate your own health, instead of having to rely on anyone else or side effects, anytime we rely on anything outside of self, you will deal with side effects. The only thing that does not produce side effects is something you understand from the inside out. When you know how to produce medicine yourself, which most people don't know how to do. But having that skill set, will allow you to regulate your own health so that even if you get sick, you can heal. So you're not afraid of sickness when you have the antidote, versus you have to go through all of these complications to heal, which is what most people have to go through, all of these doctor visits and surgery, and it's just a very, very long, drawn out process, which is completely unnecessary if you know exactly what you need to do to get your body on point. And the only way that you know what to do, you have to understand the elements in total, the 108 elements of the periodic table, because that's what comprises the physical reality. So when you understand what's what and what binds together, what repels, what reactions are generated when certain elements combine, when you have that intricate understanding, then you can produce exactly what you need based on your health conditions. Health will become more and more serious as we move on. There may come a point where they force people to get detoxed using their methods, whatever the methods are. The only way to counterbalance that is to remain healthy yourself, regulating your own body. At the end of the day, there's nothing that is impossible when you have the occult understanding, because you know exactly where everything is. If I had this chart in front of you, if I had every single point possible, it would be overwhelming. It would be impossible to understand. So we have to specify exactly what we need. This is why astrology must be synchronized together. It is one grand story with very intricate parts. These intricate parts will answer any question that you may have. Any dimension of life can be explored from an internal perspective. Let's take this a step further. Because in this particular chart, I have configured even more detailed configurations that are beyond the surface. Because if you look at this particular chart, not only do we have the zodiac sign that the asteroids are in, you see that the wheel, if you look at the outer edges of the wheel, you see those white glyphs at the edges. There's two dimensions. You should see the 12 zodiac signs in between these two sets of even more intricate symbols. This will allow us to inherit even more details. So let's take a look at Lilith and gain even more insight than everything that was just said. So let me open this up. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove this. Now, Lilith is subtly being influenced also by Venus and Aquarius. Yes, Aquarius. Yes, I'm looking directly. Let me make sure. Yes. So on top of everything that was just said, let's add the extra dimensions of Venus and Aquarius. How does that make things more intricate? We know Aquarius to represent technology. We know Venus to represent beauty and love. So Lilith representing primitive, primordial, sex force, tantra. When we combine Aquarius technology with Venus, That's like making a porno. Let's just be blunt here. Let's just be blunt. You have Venus, which is all about beauty, the feminine energy. Then you have Aquarius. So you have technology. What is the technology doing? It is recording beauty. What is the definition of beauty? Well, if it's filtered through Lilith, it's the most primitive, primordial force that you can manifest. And because Lilith is in the 7th house, the 7th house deals with one-on-one interactions, partnerships, and contracts. Meaning being able to set up routes and contracts, sharing your primitive forces. So again, it's like porn stars who are not afraid to show forth the sexual act in a way that allows people to explore their fantasies. They're more so vessels than anything. Next, Pandora, the unexploded bomb. On top of everything that was just explained, Pandora is also being influenced by Mercury in Aries. So this unexploded bomb, which was stated earlier to reevaluate your value system, if we take it a step further and introduce the degrees of Mercury and Aquarius, not Aquarius, Aries. Mercury and Aries. We know Aries is all about self-image, and Mercury represents the logical mind, the ability to solve problems. So what needs to be reevaluated in particular? In particular, is the reevaluation of your self-image and your logical mind, or your ability to problem solve. So this unexploded bomb needs to be let off, and your self-image needs to be completely reorganized. We must become something completely different. So whoever you was before this quarantine, you must produce something original, something new. You must not reemerge the same way you went in. Currently, we're inside the cave. You must use this time wisely. Reinvent yourself from the ground up. Reinvent your self-image, and also reinvent your ability to problem solve and solve your problems. However you were used to solving problems and getting things done, that all changes. So that needs to be completely reevaluated. Lastly, through 𝔈𝔱𝔢𝔯𝔫, which talked about the combination of art and science, how to fuse them together. 𝔈𝔱𝔢𝔯𝔫 was expressed as Libra, the ability to collect information about art and science. But in particular, what type of information needs to be collected? Well, 𝔈𝔱𝔢𝔯𝔫 is subtly being influenced also by, let me look closer here, Venus and Leo. So 𝔈𝔱𝔢𝔯𝔫, art and science, is being subtly influenced by Venus and Leo. So our ability to bridge the gap between art and science is first expressed through Venus. Venus is all about the home. In particular, the ability to have a home-based business. How do you have a home-based business? You must understand computer science. Venus teaches the arts of computer science. Venus is the number 6. I know that to be factual because as a teenager, I was in the frequency of the 6, and that's when I was introduced to the internet and computers, and that's when I really started getting good with computers. I was being influenced by the 6 frequency, so I know that to be true personally. Next, Leo. We know Leo to be the most creative sign of all. So not only do we have computer science, now we have creativity. Leo is the lust card. You know, in the modern cards, they change lust to passion. Now, if you get the Crowley's deck or the Thoth deck, speaking in particular about the Thoth deck. If you get newer versions, it says passion, but the original version says lust. So you have computer science and lust. But what is lust? We may know lust to be something, but what is it actually? Just like yesterday, we went to the etymology of the word so that we can have a full understanding of what's being said. So what I'll do, I will read the etymology of lust so that we understand it from the original perspective and we see how it grows. So I don't have to necessarily pull it up on screen. I can just type it in here so we can focus on the wheel. So we have art and science coming together through home-based business, being able to have mastery of computer science, channeling the energy of Venus so that you master your home life, your home-based business. We should all be moving in the direction of having the home-based business, especially now. But it takes you to understand computer science. You have to deepen your understanding of shapes and geometry. That's what Venus introduces you to through the sixth frequency, through shapes and figures, geometry. Venus is also the most beautiful home. The most beautiful homes fall under the sixth frequency. So reading the original definition of lust, it says desire, appetite, inclination, pleasure, sensuous appetite. Sensuous appetite. And eventually it evolved to represent lustful or unruly. Now, it even has the definition of sinful sexual desire. And I'm reading these definitions directly off of etymology. You know what? 𝔤𝔤𝔰𝔱𝔢𝔯𝔫. I think it's 𝔙𝔬𝔰𝔱𝔢𝔬𝔫. You know, you type in etymology, it's the first one. So I'm reading directly off that. The verb of lust, and this is what we want to focus on. The verb of lust means to wish, to desire eagerly. But what does it mean to wish? See, we have to understand. So let's look up wish so that we understand what wish is, so we have a proper perspective. So lust takes us to wish. So what will come up when we look up the etymology of wish? When we look up wish, we will find what it's saying here. Give me a second. To desire, to strive for. So wish takes us to desire. Now we have to look up desire. See, we have to trace it all the way back. So what is the definition of desire? Not the definition of etymology. Desire means, oh, here is the kicker. See, actually, let me pull this on screen so you do not think I'm making this up. And this, I'm going to put it up on screen. I'm going to open it up so you guys can see exactly what I see. And we'll end it there. So let me open up the browser here. And let me change the screen so you guys can see the browser. Give me a second. You guys should see the browser now. So let me type this in. So let me make this last point so that we see how it comes together full circle. So I'm going to type in desire, verb, so let me highlight this. If you see where I have highlighted, it says await what the stars will bring. There it is. Await what the stars will bring. Right under it, heavenly body, star, constellation. Right there. So we went from lust to wish to desire to heavenly body, star, constellation. You see how it all comes together full circle? And here they show how it descended right here. So it comes from Latin, heavenly body, star, constellation. It also down from. We just explained yesterday about how blessings are distilled from the stars. Here it is, from the stars. Await what the stars will bring. We see it all right here. And ultimately, to wish or long for, express a wish to obtain. So there it is, right in front of your face. So we see how it all links back to astrology. So the more we understand astrology, the more we understand the heavenly body, the stars, and the constellations, which is why I introduced you to the fixed stars, not just the planets, but also the fixed stars. This is exactly why I wanted to introduce. Like, there are deeper chambers than what we realize. And the more we realize that there is more awaiting us, we stop taking these things for granted because of the simplicity that is surrounded by these sciences currently. So if anybody has any questions, you guys let me know. Because again, you see, I know that was completely unexpected. Who knew that desire actually meant this? But this is why I wanted to share the screen and prove it to you guys. Right in front of your face, no questions. There it is. So let me actually see if I can put on some background music while you guys think of a question. Yeah, I'll just play some tunes. Why don't we play some tunes? So go ahead and think of questions, if anything. I'll play some tunes and we'll check out.
Kamikaze might just kill everybody. Kamikaze, dropping bodies. Kamikaze might just crazy everybody. I'm a king, bitch, and just hit the scene. I'm a king, bitch, and just hit the scene. I'm a king, bitch, and just hit the scene. Chasing after the green instead of my dreams while making a cream. Sex, magic, tactics, spoken a life she never had it. She a money manic, savage, lavish with the static. Bang, it's insane the way she popping into my name. Way she dropping it can't be tamed. She keeping it real with yin and yang. She addicted to the game, and I'm spitting in her brain. Steady aim, like Luke Kane. Got that fire, she make it rain. Oh, he must be grounded spirit, speaking for the tongue of Phoenix. Call me prophet of the Gothic. Watch it rearrange your logic on the throne. Can't be cloned. Grown off that super strong. Call me wizard of the spirit. Travel through to the etheric. Call me L, fresh as hell. You can't weigh this on the scale. Sipping from the holy grail. Snatching off your fucking veil. L, fresh as hell. 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 You can't wear it on the samurai. Cut the bullshit and the lies so that I could sip it. Call me L, rich as hell, you can't weigh this on the scales. Call me L, rich as hell, you can't weigh this on the scales. Call me L, rich as hell, you can't weigh this on the scales. Sipping from the holy grail, snatching off your fucking veil. L, rich as hell, L, rich as hell, you can't weigh it on the scale. Weigh it on the scale. Bitch, I like the style. With all type of sounds, with all type of rounds, that'll knock it down, that'll knock it down, knock it down. All type of sound, all type of sound, all type of round, all type of round. I like the style. Out of space, homie, your stasis. You would think the we was laced. Prophecy, philosophy, equivalent to the outer space. Prophecy, philosophy, equivalent to the outer space. Prophecy, philosophy, equivalent to the Odyssey. Snatching off your fucking veil, sipping on the holy grail. You can't weigh this on the scale. L, rich as hell. Call me L, rich as hell. You can't weigh this on the scale. Sipping from the holy grail, snatching off your fucking veil. L, rich as hell. L, rich as hell. You can't weigh it on the scale. Weigh it on the scale. I'm a cousin, spirit in the human body. I'm a cousin, spirit in the human body. I'm a cousin, spirit in the human body. I'm a cousin, they think he a Illuminati. I'm a cousin, spirit in the human body. I'm a cousin, spirit in the human body. I'm a cousin, spirit in the human body. I'm a
Straight like that, straight like that. Okay, so let's answer these questions. What spirits bring you creative ability? The spirits that bring you creative ability will correlate to Venus. So that could be the Roman goddess Venus. That could be Aphrodite from the Greek perspective, the Greek pantheon. Any deity, it can be Oshun from the Ifa pantheon. Once you identify who is the Venus in whatever particular pantheon that you are working with, it can also be Lakshmi, since we're talking about Vedic Lakshmi. My personal experience with Lakshmi, she helped me to get my visuals on point in terms of creation and manipulation of photography and all things that require you to experiment with color. I've had that experience with Lakshmi, so activate the energy of Lakshmi if you want the Vedic perspective. So with that, let's actually check out. So I'll be coming back with another lesson because we see we can whip this up pretty quickly. It doesn't take too much preparation, and it's still of immense value once we begin to decode and decipher what we truly have before us, what we have inherited from our ancestors. Our true inheritance is a 𝔄𝔰𝔱𝔢𝔯𝔫. There's no other way to say it. Because when you bring these things to life, you truly see why these arts have never died and will never die. So get in tune. With that, we out.